All right, welcome to my Re-Evolution talk. The topic of today is an aging world is an evolutionary dead end. The funny question I want to start with is, why do humans live so long, far beyond their reproductive years, especially for women whose reproductive years end around 40, 42, 43, something like that, but who quite often live twice as long. Most species die whenever they have reached this limit. When they can't reproduce anymore, they die. Now, we've got a nice theory why grandmothers can become so old. It's the grandmother hypothesis, and it's based on observations of the Hadsta people, especially now the hunter-gatherer people. And the point here is, the researchers found out that the grandmothers, they bring so much food back to camp and they take care of the grandchildren so well that the success of their own daughters increases dramatically if they've got them as a backup. That's a very convincing theory. It makes sense to keep them alive as grandmothers because this is an evolutionary advantage. But I want to expand on that theory with something I call the wisdom theory of aging. Because as we all know, with age there should come wisdom, accumulated knowledge, and this also includes grandfathers now. And the point is quite simple. If the human brain is the most important asset that we humans have, and I think we can all agree on that, then consider the brain to be the hardware, while the memories, that's the software. That's the very, very valuable knowledge stored inside the brains. And because during ancient times, and even 100 years ago, most people did not get very old. They died. Hunger, diseases, predators, they were killed. And when something happened, there was no doctor, no hospital, no emergency service. So those few individuals who reached really old age, they were most likely the fittest, they were the clever ones, they were the ones where evolution really accumulated all this knowledge in one individual, that it would be a major bonus for the group to keep them alive even after they were unable to bring back food. The point about that is that whenever there is scarcity, for example, where do we find food here? Where do we find water here? What do we do with this injury? Or, oh, there's a disease. They had the largest capacity, because they stored so much knowledge, of solving a problem. And a very, very important fact probably was also that they could mediate. So they could stop conflicts from becoming worse and tearing a group apart. Or conflicts between groups. Send the two old people of each group and let them talk it over, and then you have peace. There was definitely an evolutionary advantage of old men and old women if you had a few in your group. Now we come to the modern paradox again, because we as society have become so successful that we do not have one old individual in a group of 20, 30, 50 people. We have millions and actually billions of them now. As a society, as a civilization, we've become so successful that most people survive now into old age. Not just the fittest, not just the people who are clever enough to do so, basically everyone. And they need resources. They need money. They need energy. They have to be kept alive. We invented retirement, pension costs, healthcare costs. All that is a major burden on the society. So while one very special individual was an evolutionary advantage in the past, this enormous number is a systemic problem. This does definitely not mean, don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying any individual is responsible for our society running into trouble that could actually destroy the foundation of it, because you cannot blame an individual for a systemic problem. It's not the one old individual, it's the fact that we have been so successful and that we haven't adapted our systems. Because as long as we live in a political system, whether it's dictatorship or democracy, where the old people rule because they have the positions of power, they have the money, and they accumulated that over a long time. So they have advantages that they want to keep. So it's just natural that old people vote for higher pensions, free healthcare, stuff like that. That is natural. Everybody can understand that. But it's breaking the system. And we have to rethink the retirement trap, and we have to rethink how we age. So, if we talk about the future of an aging world, there is only one solution for a rapidly aging society. And that is a very simple solution. Older individuals must remain active and productive members of society. The longer, the better. The less of a stressor they become, the more of an asset they are. They can still have accumulated lots of wisdom that we can use. It's not the kind of wisdom that was important in the past, because in the past we didn't have such huge stores of knowledge, and knowledge didn't switch and change so fast, but still they can be a huge asset because they have lived so long, they have so much life experience. And I think this actually is there's another advantage in that. It's not just good for society, it's actually also good for old people, because the way we treat old people nowadays is basically we park them somewhere, like on a park bench, and then, well, they stare at the sky, at the birds. They're not productive anymore. They also find no sense because they don't feel needed. If you're part of an active community, you feel needed. You're part of the community. You have a reason to live. And that's something I think many old people today completely miss. They have no reason to live anymore. So let's change the system. Let's forget the retirement trap. Let's remain active and let's remain part of the community. That is the future of an aging world. Thank you.